The common person will not be all right unless they do anything. Everyone is furious that the system isn't working for them, regardless of their political leanings. You can't invest as much in the stock market or purchase a house as your parents could since you're a wage slave. A, living expenses are high, and B, asset prices are rising, which is due to the debasement of the currency. Debasing the currency, which is an ostentatiously complex economic concept, really means that they are reducing your purchasing power relative to assets by an average of 15% every year since 2008. Consequently, your purchasing power is diminishing at a rate of 15% each annum. Once a year, you amass a tidy sum of money but put it aside to purchase a home. That home is experiencing an annual appreciation of about 15%. I can't believe it. You either have 2 years' worth of cash on hand or none at all. The price keeps going up. In reality, they are taxing you here, but they are trying to hide it. It's as if all of these expenses are being shared. However, wage earners without assets are punished the most, which is why it's so incredibly unfair. Just like me, you have assets. When your assets increase in value, your income or pay may not increase in value quite as much. Unfortunately, most people's days consist of punching in, going to work, and clocking out. Wages are not keeping pace with asset prices, therefore it doesn't matter if you're a dentist, doctor, or lawyer. Investing in Bitcoin, gold, real estate, or stocks is a method to store your money somewhere you can get it back later, but it means your future self will be poorer. You can live comfortably with less of those things in the future, but they are your consumption habits now. Your future is thus becoming less secure. So now everyone is getting screwed, and no one knows why. The latest news surrounding Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies has taken everyone by surprise, says macroeconomic analyst Raoul Pal, as Bitcoin's value soared beyond $50,000 and into the trillion-dollar club. According to global macro investor Raoul Pal, the increase occurred at the most advantageous time possible. His economic prognosis, especially as it pertains to was recently discussed in an interview. Raoul has voiced serious worries about the dollar's ongoing depreciation, which he views as more severe than first thought. He is worried that political pledges will make things worse by adding more money to the system as the November election approaches in the United States. Raoul thinks the dollar will continue to fall in value and thinks the Federal Reserve's plan to produce additional money is pointless. But he's optimistic about crypto and says people should take advantage of the chance while liquidity comes back to the system. Potential money could be lost if action is delayed, he says. If you want to know which cryptocurrency Raoul is most bullish on, you have to watch the whole video. Everyone is aware that something is wrong with the system, and they want to know what it is. Gold is a choice for some. Bitcoin is a choice for some. Many people find workarounds for this. It is palpable to them. There is it everywhere. Populism is an example of this. Just look at how the markets react. For some reason, I feel like I need to figure things out. We are aware that there is a mountain of debt, and the prospect of having to pay it off is terrifying me. Understood. I approve. The second question is, which solution did governments and central banks choose? Making more money was the goal. Then there is the general background of debt in this field. Adoption is being propelled by that. Additionally, new applications are being discovered, such as NFTs for smart contract-related matters. That's generating widespread use of technology in the same way that the internet did. Plus, aside from artificial intelligence, it's the quickest adoption of any technology the world has ever witnessed. Additionally, central banks are debasing currency, as we have discovered. Their actions are devaluing our currency. Consequently, we are on the hunt for assets that can maintain their worth over time. There's no guarantee that it will prevent goods inflation. It goes against what central banks and governments normally do. They keep clicking the coin's corners off until you run out of coins. Unbeknownst to you, that is a method of charging you. The government has accumulated a mountain of debt due to an aging population and other factors. A combination of the two is what is propelling the cryptocurrency market. Consequently, those two factors determine the cryptocurrency price because it addresses several issues and is being used by everyone. The technology is gaining popularity. The central banks are constantly depreciating your currency, which is another thing they're doing. That sets off a major trend in this. If the industry as a whole is expanding at a rate of 100% each year, even when we include in the terrible bear markets that we all know about, then it's doing quite well. Thus, as of the end of last year, there were 516 million active wallets. By the end of this year, it will be 1 billion if growth is constant. By the following year's end, it will have surpassed 2 billion. Since more and more individuals are using it, the numbers are enormous. Now, this is different from using the internet or a cell phone. Although we did utilize those tools, we couldn't profit from them unless we happened to possess the appropriate shares. The internet's underlying infrastructure, however, could not be owned by any one entity. There were various components, and you could really possess one of them if you had a token. Consequently, we have the opportunity to own a small piece of a global infrastructure that is being constructed simultaneously by every person on Earth, which is something that has never happened before for our species. Wei is the only globally homogeneous investment product the world has ever witnessed that can operate like Wei. Therefore, this is why it now matters to everybody at the investor level. Thus, the product is identical. It doesn't matter if you're in India, Nigeria, London, or Hawaii. Bitcoin is Bitcoin. Everything is the same. Tesla shares cannot be traded by investors in India. Even though they can trade gold, they don't really have any because buying gold jewelry from a store removes a lot of the markup. Here, though, a wallet is available to everybody with an internet connection, so even a US resident can send money to their mother in the Philippines in a second. And you own a piece of it simply by possessing a token, an Ethereum token or any other kind of token. Accordingly, your wealth will increase as its use spreads. Whoever got to start this new system that addresses the issue of government and central bank actions and societal over debt is part of one of the biggest schemes ever devised for the purpose of amassing vast wealth, not for Wall Street, but for the general public. That is the size of it, Now we'll take a look at those two primary components. The debt cycle was one of them. That will remain the same. To make matters worse, interest rates have risen as a result of governments issuing additional debt to cover the interest on older debt, which has already made things more difficult. Hence, the amount owed keeps growing. The interest on the COVID bonds and other debts has increased, and we still haven't figured out how to pay them off. At this very moment, it is going vertical. There is a clear incentive for them to keep going in this direction. Are they, on the other hand, planning to debase the currency? In 2022, though, they've been acting in the exact opposite way. Like most other assets, cryptocurrency experienced a bear market as investors dumped their holdings in response to inflation. Here we are at a point where trueflation, an inflation statistic on the blockchain, is at about 1.4. As a result, inflation has decreased. It has ceased to be the terrifying figure. The 5.5% interest rate is excessive for that type of climate when it comes to growth. That being the case, interest rates will likely be lowered. An economic disaster has befallen China. They are currently experiencing full debt deflation, similar problems, an aging population, and massive debts. Everything is going up in smoke. They will probably encourage more. Since the United States and Europe both need growth to cover their interest expenses, it's likely that both will wind up boosting more. Thus, it is the future. In the midst of all this, there is another sweet spot when politicians distribute candy during elections. Stimulus is like candy, everyone wants it. Therefore, they will provide stimulus funds, the cost of which must be covered. To enable the government to finance itself, it either ends up on the Federal Reserve's balance sheet or some other liquidity tool. Therefore, it is quite probable that our money will be worth less. The major issue is that asset prices will increase while our wages will remain stagnant. Our future selves will be less well off as a result of our inability to purchase as many assets. Plus, we have a tidal wave of debts that need to be refinanced. For the most part, that's a fantastic setting for cryptocurrency. Optimal liquidity, the lifeblood of any market. However, crypto is the enormous money sink that causes this to happen. Because it appears like their stock market and 401k have gone up and all of that, people don't understand. However, even that is a tiny fraction. Just under 10% of the population possesses assets, and it has brought great joy to those individuals. Your likelihood of not questioning the authorities decreases in direct proportion to the number of assets you hold, which is a good indicator of your